shooting this movie and making this movie?
Well, I almost got divorced. How about that, for starters? It was a real hard thing to shoot this movie and get prepared for it, gain weight, and get in costume every day, wear underwear for hours upon hours upon hours in front of the whole crew, and then deal with the grease, the suit. The suit was really rough. It was a latex suit, and they like lathered us in this stuff called methacellulose and put icy hot on top to make it glisten, and we were freezing for 14 hours a day. But it was a lot of fun, man.
That's one thing that we were actually talking about last night in the room. We're like, what do you think this suit was made out of?
Yeah, it was a really cheap latex suit that they got wrong. It was like super tight on me, and on Michael's was really baggy.
Right.
And mine ripped out at the end when we were in the forest running around. It ripped out in the back, and they couldn't fix it, so they didn't do any shot of me from behind. But there was no laughing or any kind of, humor on the set. It was very serious because it was like we did 3 takes of things. We did like 1, 2, 3 takes, and that was it. So we had to really get it right.
Right.
Low budget stuff,
Sure, yeah. And what are some of your favorite memories or stories from set?
Michael couldn't get some of the lines right, so I went to the producer and had him get an earphone for Michael. So they put an earphone in, and he couldn't get the lines. So they did cue cards, and he couldn't get the lines. And then they did, what else did they do? Cue cards, earphone, and then he got the lines without it. And I'm like, what the hell? That was one of them.
Sure.
And then, let me think. Our last scene that wasn't the final, it was going to be the final scene of the movie, but wasn't, was Michael and I in this industrial area, naked, hand in hand, dancing down the street. That was going to end the movie. But we did 1 take, and Michael didn't do it right. He didn't go the right line. So Jim, the director, said, Michael, do it once more, and we got it. He said, if I do it once more, I'm going to be dead. And we didn't do it. So that would have been the ending of the movie, seeing us like naked, coming at you.
I'm sure a lot of us in the audience and in this room would still love to see that.
Too bad we can't get that outtake.
Yeah. We got to get the director's cut of this.
Yes.
There was some stuff when he strangled the hot dog vendor in the RV. There was all kinds of great stuff that they improv'd that I was like, shit, they didn't get that in the movie. But if Jim did a director's cut, that all this great stuff, extra sex scenes, Michael really doing some really gross stuff. It could get him in trouble today.
Right. What was the most difficult scene to shoot for you personally? Was it the final running in the forest, or something else?
One of the scenes that I'd forgotten about that was really hard in getting prepared for, my friend down here, Dylan from the Walter Paisley Movie House, brought up, and I had forgotten about this, where Michael and Janet are having sex, and I'm losing it because he's having sex with my girlfriend. And I get really worked up, and I run out of the house, down the street, and go just crazy. That was a tough scene, man.
I bet.
And tell us a little bit about how you got started. How did you get involved with acting?
My wife took me down to a thing called LA Casting. Have you heard of that?
No.
It's like an online thing. You go down, they bring you into a funny room, and they take a picture of you, and they start an online profile, and you self-submit yourself to projects. And like, oh, I can do that. I can be a businessman picking up a transsexual in an alley. I'd love to do that. You submit yourself, and then you get an email that says, you're picked. Come on down to audition.
Okay.
And I got all these auditions for all these weird roles. And that's how I met Jim.
Okay. Very cool. What was it like working with Michael besides his whole line issues?
Michael is difficult to work with because he does everything in like a method. Like if he's choking you, he's really choking you. And when he's having sex with you, he's trying to really have sex with you. And I'm like, dude, this is acting, man. Don't be a weirdo or a creepy pervert. I wish she was here now, man.
No, we were really bummed when they're like, oh, he's not going to be here, but at least we have one.
He's got diabetes, so like he has these diabetes attacks.
Sure.
And he's got to, go out and stick a needle in his stomach.
Well, we know we have a ton of fans out in the audience, people who really love this movie, so we wanted to give a good amount of time for people to ask questions. Does anybody out in the audience have any questions for Sky?
I know you do, don't be shy.
Oh, that guy, yeah. Thanks for asking. I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I grew up in the steel mill area of Pittsburgh, and by 10 o'clock in the morning, you needed to change a white shirt where I grew up because of the smoke in the air. That's it. Yeah. It literally made your shirt like dark. And the buildings were all like black. That's from the steel mills.
Yeah.
Did you guys know that?
No.
And then they came in and they said, this looks terrible. We want to sandblast all these buildings, so they sandblasted it all away.
That's really interesting. I'm from Bakersfield, California, where the air quality is so bad. You go home, you wash off the air.
From the oil.
The water's brown. So I get it.
Who's the guy from Bakersfield? The country dude.
Buck Owens.
Buck Owens.
Oh,
Buck Owens, and there's another dude, Waylon Jennings.
Yeah. Dan Corn. Whatever from there.
No, are they?
They're
from Bakersfield.
They're from the
I
area.
did not know that.
Yeah, that's what we're known for. We're known for Buck Owens, Hee Haw, and Corn. Over here. And the worst air quality.
We'd like to hear a question from the Walter Paisley movie.
Yes. I know
We heard he's got some good ones for you.
He's a good dude.
What were you doing before you were an actor?
I was a musician from like 2 years old all the way up to in the 20s, and I got on Atlantic Records, and then I did it. We were in a band called Seventh House from Pittsburgh, and we got this big following and got signed.
Do you have any cool regular gigs anywhere?
You mean playing?
Yeah.
Oh God, no, dude. I spent so many years on the road. It's like, it was
Did you
such...
play CBGB at all?
Yeah, we played CBGB, man.
Oh, okay.
How did you know?
I don't know, I just thought so.
Did you guys know CBGB?
Yeah.
We had a regular gig there Monday nights for like 2 years. So we drive up from Pittsburgh Monday, get to CBGB to do a sound check, clean up Hilly's dog's piss and shit. Hilly Crystal, famous, and then do the gig. She'd give us a slot, and then we drive back to Pittsburgh. Like, it's a marathon every Monday. Eat at this place called Dojo. It was the cheapest meal. It was $1.99 for brown rice, a tofu burger, and salad. $1.99.
That is a steal. It really is. What did you play?
Like what kind of music?
It was like kind of at that time we were doing that every Monday night. It was kind of heavy funk rock.
I like the sound of that.
Like name one of our songs. Funked Up Head.
Yes. Love that. And what instrument did you
I
play?
play bass.
Awesome. That's my favorite
So we
instrument.
did music, and then I just like the music. It went down like They booted us off Atlantic because of all kinds of business shit, and then the towers came down right after that, and then we drove out to LA.
Okay, yeah. And tell me what kind of stuff you're up to these days. Are you working on any special projects? What do you got going on?
I'm working on a new project with this guy in England, and I'm going to go to Scotland and do this project, which I can't talk about because they told me not to say anything about it.
Sure.
And this time, I would talk, if we didn't have this thing called the internet, I'd tell you about it because it wouldn't get out and they wouldn't.
Exactly.
They
Totally
get
understand.
pissed off.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Have you ever been to Scotland before?
No.
Oh, so this will be your first time. Very cool. Very cool.
I love Duncan MacLeod from the Clan MacLeod.
Right over here in that great greasy hat.
Scott, is there a director that you want to work with in the future? Is there someone you really admire that you'd like to work with?
Ridley Scott.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's a good
Sofia Coppola.
I know her. I didn't know her. I used to be her waitress in Chicago when she was on Empire. Yeah, she'd come into my restaurant and order spaghetti and meatballs
Wow.
with marinara sauce.
What kind of restaurant? Was it a good restaurant?
It was okay.
It'd have to be pretty good for her to order the spaghetti and meatballs.
Yeah, and so I waited on her several times, and I'm like, I remember you from American Dreams. And she goes, oh wow, that was so long ago. I said,
So she's pretty cool.
yeah, she's cool. Yeah, and she always had the same table, and she always came around lunchtime, so it wasn't busy, and yeah, it's like clockwork.
Let me think of another director I'd like to work with because he caught me off guard there. God, I can't think, man. Name one, and then I'll tell you if I'd like to work with him.
J.J. Abrams, David Lynch.
David Lynch.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I would watch that.
Quentin Tarantino.
Yes.
Love to work with him. He worked as a kid in the video store in Manhattan Beach, right where I live. And people would call him up and say, what's this movie I'm thinking about? And they'd name like one little line from the movie, and he'd tell them everything. He's got like a photographic memory, and he knows it's an encyclopedia of film.
Wow.
So, let's kind of ask a companion question to that. I mean, we know that this is produced by Elijah Wood.
Right.
Did you have any experiences with him? Was he around?
Yeah, he was on the set every day.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
that's so cool.
And I came out, and the only question I wanted to ask him was, how did you get the gig with Lord of the Rings?
Right? What do you say?
And he said he got the audition from his agent, but they wanted him to fly to New York, and he didn't want to fly to New York, to go into a room, like a white room, with a video camera, real sterile. So his agent asked them, could he self-tape? And they said, okay, send the self-tape, and he made costumes. And he put this whole world together.
Wow.
And he did this whole thing, and it was like Lord of the Rings. He spent all this time doing the self-tape, got the gig.
Wow. What was it like working with him?
Me working with him?
Yeah.
Well, he wasn't in the movie, obviously, but
Right.
he was
Just
just
having him
hanging
on
out
set.
and just saying, where in the hell did they get you, Scott?
Love that. And I'd also love to know, since we're here at Days of the Dead, are you a fan of horror?
It's okay.
House on Haunted Hill.
Yeah.
Remake or
Vincent
original?
Price.
Oh, original.
That really scared the shit out of me.
It's a great one.
The Exorcist,
Of course. Yeah.
Classic.
Rosemary's Baby.
Oh, yes.
Does Alien fall in here?
I think so.
I would say so.
Alien. That first one. And then I like Penny Dreadful, the one in England.
Yeah.
Have you watched that?
Yeah, my
With Ava
husband
Green.
is obsessed with Penny Dreadful.
Have you guys seen Penny Dreadful, the one in England? Not this one here, even though the same writer did it. It's insane, man.
Todd, did you have a question?
What do you think about the movie Silent Grave?
Never heard of it.
Chuck Norris.
80s, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like Chuck Norris, man.
What?
I like Chuck Norris and Bruce Lee, that thing they did in their movie.
Oh, Return of the Dragon.
Oh, yeah.
That's killer.
Wasn't John Saxon in that as well?
Yeah.
No, that's
He was in that.
And
You
the
know how
Rock
important-
Dragon.
You know how important music is to a movie?
Absolutely.
How important music is to a movie? Right?
Yeah, totally.
If you took that Chuck Norris and Bruce Lee scene and put any other music over it, it would have been shit.
It's true.
How about that, man?
It's true. You got anyone else's
Check
phone?
that with Silent Breakers.
I will. Thanks for that, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Gentleman in the front.
On the topic of the music in the movies, were you guys aware of what the soundtrack was going to sound like during the process, or not until
That's a
after?
great question, because
Yeah.
I was campaigning for me to do the soundtrack.
Oh, naturally, of
I
course.
said, Jim, look, I gotta do this soundtrack. I gotta work with you. He says, yeah, sure, Scott, we'll do the soundtrack together. And I'm like, okay, great. So after we do the movie, I'm bugging him. He's like, don't bother me now, Scott. And, and then he says he has, he has Miles Davis music in the soundtrack, like real Miles, behind all the stuff. And I'm like, Jim, you will never get Miles Davis in your movie. Like, they will never license Miles for the movie.
Not this
And he's
movie.
like, I can get it, Scott, I can get it. I said, you're not gonna get it. They don't do it. Miles is like the holy grail. And then I said, come on, I'll fly over there and we'll write the music. He says, give me a minute. And I heard nothing. And then I got back to him a month later and he said, I'm using Andrew Home. And I'm like, who's that? Fuck buttons. What the hell is fuck buttons? No, Sky, fuck buttons. No, it's fuck buttons, Jim. Fuck buttons.
I saw a question in the back, yeah.
Was there any part of the movie that you guys improvised?
There was no improv.
None at all.
But none. And Michael, I remember the scene where we're walking in our outfits, our disco tour outfits, and he's saying, it's official, I'm dating Janet. Remember that scene? We had a big argument with Jim. He did. He said, I want to improv this scene because he couldn't get the line. And Jim's like, no improvs. Michael, no improv. And we didn't do any improv at all. It was all to the letter. Okay. Good question, man.
Definitely. Was there any other questions?
You mentioned you were in a band. Did your band ever end up releasing an album?
We have 6 records.
Okay.
7th House, and then when we got off of Atlantic, we started a group called Insofar. There's a band in England called Insofar, but it's the American one.
Okay.
And it's all on iTunes and all those things, Spotify and Rhapsody, or you can listen to it. Tell me which one you like.
Were there any hard copies that were made, any CDs, or?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a physical media person. I want the CD.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
Same.
Physical media is where it's at.
Yeah.
If you
We're old
DM
school.
me, I'll go out in the garage and I've got like 5,000 of them.
I will buy that from you. Seriously, yeah. You should bring them to the shows.
I know, man.
You should just bring like 20 to the shows, and I bet they all sell.
Sky, will you sell? Is there nothing you will sell? Here's my underwear that I wore yesterday, man. Never sell. God, it just seems so opportunistic to be selling 7 House.
Not all at once. No, but I'm sure.
But thanks for asking.
People bring scripts to their tables and they autograph and sell them. I mean, I'm sure people would buy the CDs
Yeah,
too.
that's another.
Oh, but I collect scripts too, so that's fun. So.
Wow.
Was there any?
Yeah.
I sold my script that I used on the Greasy Strangler that I had all written up and everything. I sold it
How much? How much does it sell for?
to Evan McNair of Mad Monster Party.
That's a good.
Evan, he was like, I want that script, Sky. I want that script. I said, what do you want to give me for it? He said, I'll give you $200 for it. But I could have gotten a lot more, but Evan's a good friend.
Exactly. Exactly.
And he's got the fucking glasses, big ladies glasses. He bought those from the prop house in fucking Burbank. And I'm like, where are they, man? I want those back. They're in a warehouse in Florida somewhere.
Wow.
You gotta watch these guys, man.
Yeah.
Oh, someone else. Yeah.
You have the use for your lower dick piece.
My what?
The little dick piece that we have.
I'm trying to get that. One of the guys who worked on the movie said he can get it, and Michael has his. But they never gave me mine. You guys were thinking that that's actually my thing, right?
Was it like underwear or?
No, it's called a Birkin and then a prosthetic. And I never heard this Birkin word before, and I really hate that Birkin thing, man. Because they glued that on your thing, and you had to shave it. And they glued it, and at the end of the thing, the lady would literally go.
It's rude.
I know. Did you see the picture of them putting it on? Everybody's seen that on Michael.
Yeah.
Looks like a Renaissance photo.
And you know, what was kind of your reaction when you first saw the finished product? When you first watched The Greasy Strangler?
You're not going to believe this, but my wife hadn't seen it, and I hadn't seen it, and SpectraVision hadn't seen it.
Okay.
They hadn't seen anything because Jim had the deal like, I'm going to do everything. I'm going to do the music, the edits, the everything, and nobody's going to approve it. It's going to be me. So the first time we saw it was at Sundance, 2016, and I got sick. I did. I watched it, my wife and she was like, pissed. She was like, this is so gross, God. How could you be involved in it? And I got up, and my stomach got, and I went into the bathroom and threw up.
Did you know it was going to be as like icky as?
No, I didn't know. I didn't know, because you're involved in it. You're
Right.
thinking, I did a pretty good job there in that scene.
You did.
Good, you know, and then, like, you see it, and you're like, oh, fuck. But then when they called us and I said to my wife, I said, we're going to Australia. And she said, for what? And I said, the Greasy Strangler, we're doing a tour. She said, this is great. Women.
So guys, I mean, I had several friends tell me about this movie within the last few years, okay? And I
You played it for your grandma.
No, I had never seen it. She's passed now, but if she wasn't, she would be now. But I had never seen it, so I bought it on iTunes, and I watched it on the plane on my iPad, and my face was like this the whole time. And I'm not.
It's one of those things.
It was a packed flight. I am dying. I was laser focused, but I didn't want to look from either side. But I'm dying to know what happened beside me with those people watching over my shoulder.
And what was kind of like the reaction like of the other people watching the movie? And you know, other than your wife, how did people
When
respond?
we went to Sundance, it was the first screening of it. And there was an opening party they do at Sundance. Have you ever been there?
I haven't. I wish.
It's like, for miles, you get in a line to go into the opening. Like, it's a big party with DJs and free drinks and everything. And we're in line for this for 2 hours, 3 hours, and we just heard people talking about the Greasy Strangler in line. Like, I gotta go to see this Greasy Strangler. And there were like 4 or 5 screenings, all sold out.
Wow.
Standing room.
Wow.
It was nuts. And then people, they get into it, and like starts to get into it, and then people start like walking out. But when everybody started walking out, it was still packed.
Wow.
Right. There was plenty of room for people to leave. There was so many people already. What, did you get any feedback from the audience members that stayed? Like after the fact?
You know, it's such a blur, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's such a blur because that first night we did a Q&A right after I threw up in the bathroom.
Did you open the Q&A? Yeah, just kidding.
No, I didn't.
Just so you know.
We did the Q&A, and it's just a blur. I don't remember anything but that line, people talking about it. And we're wearing the Greasy beanies because Tim Lee, the guy who owns Alamo Draft House, he made those beanies. He had stacks of them in the condo we were staying at, and we're walking down the street. Somebody offered us $500 for a beanie. They were so crazy about the beanies. And the guy who did Grease approached Tim, not Tim Lee, but Aunt Timpson, one of the producers, and said, "You can't do that. That's Grease." He stole the logo. And Aunt's like, "Yeah, I can do that." It was a big fight, man.
Oh my gosh. I see a hand over here, Todd.
Yeah, what was the most cheesiest horror movie you've ever seen?
That's a good one.
Cheesiest horror movie I've ever seen. What's the one that, one of these really B-rated, like, low budget, it was like a beach movie, a beach horror movie.
Blood Beach?
What's that?
Blood Beach?
That's the one.
Classic.
Blood Beach.
Yeah.
No, Blood Beach. That's the one. That was terrible. Cheesy, terrible.
Yeah. Vampire book. That's the most cheesiest horror movie.
Why don't you come up here, man, sit here and you can take questions.
I thought I saw another hand out here too. Did I? No?
What's that?
I thought I saw another hand out here. No?
We're all tapped out. We got you.
6, 8, 10, 12.
Oh, got doubles. Okay.
18.
Mr. Greasy Hat.
I know we spoke a little bit yesterday. You mentioned you might want to do a band with Jermaine Clement of Flight of the Conchords.
Oh yeah. Jermaine and I did a movie before the Greasy Strangler with Sam Rockwell, Danny McBride, Will Forte was my partier. And Jermaine was in there, and Jermaine and I became good friends. And then we did Beverly Loughlin together, and we were talking about doing a jazz duo because he's really into jazz, and I like cover songs. Like you know, you and your lady are doing cover like crooner songs. Jermaine and I are going to do a band and do a record. We're still talking about it.
So, okay, well, in correspondence to that, and then do you have any names for what you might call yourselves? Like, have you both come up with any ideas? Like, just, off the top of your head?
God, that's a great question. I haven't thought of that. I haven't thought of that name for a band. I was just trying to think of the tunes that I'd sing.
The Greasy Conchords?
That might
Just throwing it out there.
I don't know if he'd be down with the Concords, but like, what do they call the guys from New Zealand?
Kiwis.
Kiwis, yeah.
The Greasy Kiwis!
Sounds tasty.
I saw another one over here. Yes.
Was the grease suit actually like wet or was it all?
They have to wet it up with this methylcellulose and then put this shiny stuff. This methylcellulose is kind of dull. It gives it a texturized, greasy look, but the icy stuff gives it the glisten of grease.
So they were actually wet.
That sucked, man, because it was cold, and we were cold, and we had to stand in front of a heater, and it all dried up, so they had to keep applying it. And that stuff, to get it out of your hair at the end of the night, it took, literally, I was in the shower for 2 hours, and I shampooed my hair over and over and over again.
So you're over the grease then?
And Jim, the director was like, Sky, I didn't make one dime from that movie. And he was talking about like how the labor of love it was. And I was thinking, man, we were all so committed to doing that movie that like, I don't know, like any other thing I would have said, fuck that, man, getting that stuff out of my hair for 2 hours and this and that. But we didn't think twice about it because we really loved this script.
Yeah. Speaking of love, this movie has really become a modern cult classic. How's that kind of feel? I mean, the fans just love you guys, and it has become this cult classic.
It feels good, man. Thanks. Thanks for loving it. DM me and we'll talk back and forth.
I imagine this is like almost, in 40 years, this is going to be like the Rocky Horror Picture Show. You know,
You think?
I do. I think there will be screenings. I think people are going to be dressing up. I've seen some people dressing up here.
Saw some great
already.
costumes, yeah.
Yes, I've seen.
I tried to put a fix in for the costume thing, but they wouldn't hear it. I did it at Alamo Draft House with Tim. They had a disco dancing thing. I put the fix in. Did you guys see that thing? The video of him throwing the cash to the people?
No.
Oh, it was awesome, man. They won the disco dance. These two ladies were awesome dancers. I said, Tim, and he gave them all this cash for this. Anyway.
Well, we talked about working with Michael. What was it like working with Elizabeth?
It was cool. She was super professional, and she was on Eastbound and Down, and she's done stuff. Michael wasn't really professional. You understand that,
Yes.
right? I'm not trying to beat on the guy, but he came in and he's like, I'm going to improv this whole movie. Dude, you're not going to improv
Jim's
this
like,
whole
no,
movie.
you're not.
Dude, I'm going to choke you to death and you're going to go to the hospital. Dude, you're not. Elizabeth was a total professional. Like,
I liked her a lot. She's so good. She's so talented.
she's talented, man.
She's good.
But when I first read the script, there's 13 sex scenes that were deleted from the script. When I read this, I said, Jim, I'm not doing this movie with a porn star, because you're not going to be able to get anybody but a porn star to do this. I'm going to spray rope after rope after rope on your face. How about that? What woman is going to do that? Come on. And Jim's like, no, we're not going to get a porn star, guy. And Elizabeth came in and she was like, I'll do it. She was cool, man.
Oh, I love that. She was great. Yeah. When I was watching it, aside from doing this the whole time, I
Maybe
was
we can
like,
get her
I
out
like
here
her.
to these things.
Oh, we'd love that. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, she's great.
So, are there any kind of projects that you haven't done yet, whether that's, delving into a different kind of craft or a different kind of role, anything that you really, really want to do?
This thing that I'm doing in Scotland, it's a completely different thing. It's so bizarre and odd.
Is it more bizarre than Greasy?
It's more bizarre than Greasy, and it's a two-man thing, and we're having men things. Men situations. It's out there, man. But for me to just say it's out there, I gotta bring it totally to
You got
this.
to make it out there.
Yeah, or you won't believe it, I hope I can bring it enough that you're like, wow, Sky, how did you do that?
How do you kind of get prepared for one of your roles, especially this role in Greasy Strangler?
What I do is I get the script, and from page 1 to the end of the script, I memorize the whole script. His lines, my lines, everything, all the actions, I memorize it. It takes me a long time. But then I've got it in my head second nature. Like the whole world is in my head. So I start playing this out in my head. At night, when I wake up, I'm playing it out. I'm thinking about it. So I'm internalizing this whole thing over months and months and months. And then we get to rehearsals, and hopefully it happens.
Yeah, I was going to say, was there any, since you prepared basically for every part, is there anything when you got to that rehearsal moment, like your table read or whatnot, that didn't go, you're like, oh, that's different, I have to readjust?
Well, we did things with Michael. Michael and I rehearsed for this thing, and he was still trying to get it together, and we got the chemistry. I was a little off with his chemistry at first, because he didn't know any of the lines. And every line, right? The whole script, when we first rehearsed it, was bullshit artist. And I'd say my line, well, Dad, I don't know, bullshit artist. Michael, that's not the line.
It is now.
And you've already told us some really fun facts about this movie. We do a segment on our podcast where we talk about fun facts. Are there any other fun facts you have?
Walter Paisley Movie House has a podcast too.
We know, we just had a chat.
We exchanged business cards. What's it called again?
I think he's got it covered.
The Walter Paisley Movie House, it's great. We just did a podcast.
Oh, that's so awesome. But do you have any like fun facts, other fun facts about the Greasy Strangler that we might not know?
The movie almost got shut down and destroyed and completely obliterated and pulverized because Michael went over the line, if you know what I mean.
I think so.
Can you imagine St. Michael going over the line?
Was that very stressful?
That was very, very stressful.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, come on, man. I wish he was here.
Like, don't mess up.
And you know what he'd say to this? I can predict it, right? I say,
Bullshit artist?
no, he'd say, don't you know it's all about the ropes, Guy? It's all about the ropes.
I did see some more people filter in. Did you guys have any questions?
What's that?
Did the new people that saw filter in have any questions? No, not yet. Okay. Do we have any others at the moment?
I love you guys, man.
Is there any incident behind the scenes between you and Michael? That didn't make
Well,
you said you
he choked me. He was going to choke me out when I was saying, you know, it's all right if we got into a thing there when we're end of the walking tour where we're walking together. He was going to choke me out, and he started like we were rehearsing around the corner, and he started to really choke me, and like choke me. I said, dude, you're hurting me. This is not the way you do it. And I had to get it back together again. And Jim came over and started yelling at him like, you don't choke somebody when you're on film, man.
Don't kill the talent.
That was a bad one right there. And then him not being able to get the lines, I kind of had a little thing with Elijah and his partner. I'm like, dude, he's got to get the lines. These lines are so genius.
They are.
You can't freaking change this or redact anything. You got.
Definitely. So since you're somewhat new to the acting world, right? Because you're a musician, right?
Yeah, pretty new. Yeah.
Do you have any actors that particularly inspire you?
Michael Keaton. He's from Pittsburgh. I love him. I love him.
Fantastic.
Christian Bale. I love.
Yes.
Malcolm McDowell.
Genius.
Phenomenal.
Mhm.
Richard Harris. Dude. And who else? Daniel Day-Lewis. Patrick Seymour Hoffman. And I can't think of anyone else, but there's a lot of great guys that are inspiring, man.
Yeah.
Definitely. And do you have any tips or advice for somebody who's maybe wanting to get into acting?
I do. And I thought about this because a guy, when I was in Pittsburgh for 2 weeks, I just came from Pittsburgh shooting a movie. And one of these podcast guys came to me, like the Walter Paisley movie house. and he said, he was asking me, they do a podcast for actors, and you get on and you give people advice and talk about the craft and all that stuff. So I was thinking, I was thinking of something I could tell people that are trying to get in it or that are in it that I thought about.
That you maybe wish you knew?
And this is it. Try to position yourself, not only, primarily economically, because it's living in LA and New York and Atlanta is incredibly expensive. So you kind of have to position yourself economically to say yes to absolutely everything. You don't say no to anything. So hundreds, and you just keep doing it, and not say, no, I gotta go to my day job, or no, I don't have the money, I can't afford to do that, or no, position yourself so you can say yes, and then stay in that position so you can say no to everything. So when people hear you say no, they say, wait, no, what do you want? Oh, well, here's really what I need. I need, grease.
Oh, we know.
I need lots of grease.
And just curious, like, do you have any idea how much grease was used on set? There's that vat of it that the hot dog gets dipped in.
You know that big tub in the bedroom?
Uh-huh.
I stepped into a big fucking barrel of grease.
Oh my gosh.
And went down into it.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow.
Lots of grease, tubs of it.
Was it hard to eat meals between takes when you were dealing with all this
It
grease?
actually wasn't. I was really into this. I really loved this,
Yeah.
filming this movie. Even though there's hard things on every movie.
Of course. Yeah, definitely.
It's the most fun, man.
Oh yeah, I bet. It looks like a blast. And again, it's so cool that this movie was made. It's different. It's funny. It's gross. And again, people love it. It's a modern cult classic.
It's got a look about it.
Yeah.
The locations, you don't really believe this is LA.
Yeah.
That's pretty genius.
Totally. What's something that you learned while you were working on this movie? Something you learned about life, about the craft, anything? What'd you learn?
Well, when I went through, you ready for this? This is absolutely true. I was going by my own advice, which I don't usually do, but we went through costume and hair and all this stuff, and then they got to doing the movie, and I said, no, I'm not going to do the movie. And they said, wait, you're not doing the movie? I said, yeah, I can't work for this amount of money because it's nothing. You're working a month. I got a mortgage. I got 2 mortgages.
Which
and
means you can't do anything else for a month, which means you have bills.
I couldn't. So they said, what do you want, Sky? So I said, I want a lot of money. So we started to negotiate. That's what you got to do, man.
Yeah.
Go through hair and makeup, go through costume, and then say, I can't do this.
Especially costuming like your guys's. It was very specific to your body, and like you said, your greasy costume did not fit you properly, and that's a problem. So yeah.
I
It's
got
not like they
over.
just put a t-shirt and jeans on you and said, go. It was very specific.
I got over to this place called Illusion Industries in Burbank, and they did all the measurements for the suit,
Yeah.
and it came out 2 sizes too small. And I said to the lady, I said, you guys are freaking idiots. I got to get this on. It took an hour to get it on, and Michael's swimming in his.
Yeah.
I'm like, come on, man, make another one. Those things are expensive, Sky.
Hey, Dad, your paycheck. Okay, never mind. Right.
Has a fan ever brought you a really interesting thing to sign?
Say that again.
Has a fan ever brought you anything really interesting or bizarre to sign? Or even had something really interesting and bizarre to say to you?
They had those T-shirts that they made. It was the
Very
Greasy Strangler. It's all about the ropes. They designed them themselves.
Wow.
And then these guys made their own pink outfits.
I saw this.
They were good.
Mm-hmm. And I saw a tumbler too, like a cup. with
Oh
you-
yeah,
you
the
guys
cup.
wearing. Yeah.
The cup.
Can you show it? Do you have it? Can you show it? Because it's kind of genius. I want one, actually.
This is the Greasy Strangler is like the Grateful
Look at
Dead.
this,
of
guys. How
films.
amazing is that cup?
Right?
It
You
has
guys
all
like the
the
Grateful
quotes on it.
Dead? You like the Dead? Well, the Dead used to tell people, "Come on out, tape our shows, and we know it's cool, and just circulate it around." The Greasy Strangler is like the Grateful Dead of movies. Make your own merchandise, sell it online, Have a ball.
You know, going back a little backwards, talking about music again, can you tell us a little bit about what like your songwriting process is like?
Wow. I lived in Pittsburgh in a little apartment, and I just sit with my guitar and start making shit up.
Uh-huh.
You know, and then I had all my influences. I came from the jazz world and classical music and some rock like Cream and like old rock. And I just make stuff up. Just lines would come into my head and I'd start thinking about things to write, subject matter, things that bothered me, social stuff.
Sure.
And hopefully came up with some decent stuff.
Yeah.
I got one song called Things I Didn't Know, about like being kind of young and innocent and all the things you didn't know and you find out about and you're like, fuck, this sucks. You know? Things I didn't know, you know, when you're young.
Well, speaking of things you didn't know, is there something you know now when you start that you wish you knew when you started the acting journey?
Well, go back to music. All those gigs I had, I wish I would have saved some money. I wish I would have saved, because I made some money in like music. We toured and we did all this. I spent it all, man. I spent every dime I had. And the good thing it wasn't like drugs. It was like, you know, guitars, this, that, vacations, wine.
All very important things.
Yeah, you gotta get into wine, man. I'm gonna start a Greasy Strangler Porto wine. That's my thing, man. Don't take that. Yeah.
Well, Crystal Lake, like, has wine.
I know.
Yeah, like, why not?
Who was telling me that?
Maynard from Tool has his own vineyard, too.
Yeah. So why the hell not, man? Do it.
Brad Pitt has his own winery in Bordeaux.
Yeah, I think the wine would become a cult classic as well, don't you guys?
They would bring you guys bottles to sign. Right?
I'm telling you right now, if Brad Pitt has a winery and he doesn't do a box wine called What's in the Box, he's totally
He's in What's in the Box. Dude.
That's a missed opportunity right there, man.
You, my friend, are a genius.
I'm good for one a day. See y'all later.
George on Seinfeld. I'm out, man.
So I was also curious, you know, how often have you done conventions like this, and you know, what's your experience kind of been with that?
I've only done 3 conventions. Eben from Mad Monster brought us to 2, like in 2018, 3 years ago. We did Phoenix and North Carolina, and then Omaha brought us to like a homemade convention where they screened a movie. I wish they'd screen the movie at these places. You could screen up here, right?
Yeah.
So he did a little convention himself, this guy, Dr. Sanguinary. He's got a little public access show over there. And screened the movie and then had merchandise and we signed stuff. So that's it.
Wow. And what are you, like, how is it, how have you kind of like enjoyed it? You know, what's it like kind of getting that one-on-one time with fans?
I think it's cool, man. These guys are all great. Creative, into film, you know, podcasts. And they come up with great stuff and we make friends.
Definitely. That's like the best part. And you know, after the year that we had, it's so nice to be able to do it again.
This year was rough, man.
Yeah.
But my puppy loved it.
I was gonna say, worst time, you know, one of the worst times for people, but dogs, they were having a field
Did you see
day.
my pictures of my puppy on Instagram?
No.
I put vampire fangs on him. He's
Oh.
a little Maltese. You guys have seen it.
Oh, I'm gonna have
I
to
put
look
a
that
greasy beanie on him.
That's great. Oh, now we need to get him some Greasy Strangler, like food bowls and stuff.
That's true.
Let's do it, man.
Are there
Very
any
cool.
other questions before we wrap her up?
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Well, do you have any future convention appearances that you know about that you can talk about?
We're gonna do these Days of the Dead. There's one in Chicago,
Yeah.
one in Atlanta, one in
You're gonna be on all those?
And Evan's got 6 more things he's adding. He's gonna do an Omaha, he's gonna do where was it, Boston? We're gonna do a bunch of his, so.
Hey Scott, when we do Chicago, since these guys are close enough, they can all drive up there. Let's do a filming of the Greasy Strangler.
And Jamie and I are gonna be there too.
Yeah.
Yes!
We'll do a shining film while we're in Chicago.
You know what Michael and I did? This lady from England, her husband was having a birthday party. She like paid us to do a scene in the movie. And we filmed a scene in the movie dressed up.
Oh.
7 minutes, man. And she screened it over in England and they loved it, man. I mean, how often do you get to do this stuff, man? Come on, it's great.
And of course, I mean, the horror cons are great. It works one great.
You have 2 good ideas.
I know,
man.
he just said
No,
too
he-
much.
Oh, you go. You're
Oh,
out.
this guy.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank
for
you.
coming
Thank you.
to see us and play with us, man.
Absolutely.
And thank you guys for coming to attend. I know it's Sunday and everyone's getting ready to leave, but I definitely appreciate you showing up and your time. Yeah.
And thank you for being a part of the Greasy Strangler. I mean, we loved it, you know? Like, I honestly can't imagine anybody else in that world besides you.
Can I interrupt one thing?
Of course.
You know why I think people love this movie? Because Jim made this movie and didn't care if people loved it or not.
Well, you have to.
Like,
So
I
genuine.
was thinking, people are gonna hate this movie. And I'm like, but I love it, and that's all that matters. I really thought that at the beginning of this thing, this Greasy Strangler. I thought, this is gonna be something, even if it's nothing on the outside, it's gonna be something, you know?
Well, some of the best movies, like I said, like Rocky Horror Picture Show, flopped. People hated it, despised
I
it.
love it.
And what?
I mean, even the thing,
Now,
at first
look at it.
people thought it was disgusting, and they thought it was no good. They're like, this is crazy. And the thing is a beloved,
Right.
classic.
You never know, and yeah, people will when you love something, people will follow you everywhere about it, so you're blessed.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much. You're going to be at your table for a little while, or no?
Plane.
Gotcha.
Go to the plane.
All right, I'll see you in Chicago.
WPMH. WPMH.